Hundreds of local residents take the streets to raise awareness for sexual assault. The field of presidential nominees grows as an Ohioan enters the race. And in sports, Ohio baseball's 3-game winning streak is on the line. Newswatch starts right now.
Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens, this is Newswatch.
Good evening, I'm Caitlin Coolidge. Thanks for joining us. A project to open an opioid treatment facility in Nelsonville now has more funding. The Appalachian Regional Commission awarded more than $1 million to Ohio University for the Appalachian Recovery Project. The funding will help turn the Old Hocking Correctional Facility into a treatment facility. The facility will be able to help 300 women at a time. Tonight, Ohio University is hosting Take Back the Night. The event will feature a march, speakers, and support for survivors of sexual assault. Students spoke of the impact of the event.
Most important things to feel when you just start your healing is to feel like you're not crazy. Feel like you're not like on some different planet, because there really are other people that can relate to you.
The event will also feature a spray painting of the graffiti wall on Richland Avenue. The event will include resources for survivors and exhibits showcasing survivors. The House voted today to reauthorize a 25-year-old law that helps victims of domestic violence. The bill to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act includes a provision making it easier to take away guns from violent offenders, even if they are not a spouse or domestic partner. The amendment closes the so-called boyfriend loophole by barring those convicted of abusing, assaulting, or stalking a current or former dating partner from owning a firearm.
No. That if there is a gun in a hostile situation, in a domestic violence situation, someone is 500% more likely to be killed if there is a gun present. We're not trying to take away people's due process. If someone's not allowed to have a gun, we're simply closing a loophole.
Supporters said the measure was crucial to protect women in the United States who die from gun violence at rates far higher than other high-income countries. Tomorrow will be Oak Hill Police Chief Donald Arbogast's last day. Council members named Sergeant William Hughes to serve as interim chief on police until permanent replacement is determined. Arbogast was originally hired as chief of police in early 2015. Before that, he served as a part-time police officer. The EMS station in Athens will be moving to a new location. The County Commission has accepted an offer from the city for land of Kenny Drive. The new station will replace the current building on West Union Street. The cost of the new building is unknown, and the goal is to have it built by the end of this year.
Welcome to the Newswatch Weather Center. I'm your forecaster, Cameron Saliga, and we're going to check out the almanac right now. Outside today, the high was 67 and low of 49. We're right around normal for the high and low. We have not seen any precip today. The record of 91 set in 1934, we are not there yet. And sunrise at 7:08 a.m. and sunset at 7:55 p.m. And we're going to check out right now, 66 pleasant with a mix of clouds, winds out of the northeast at 10 miles per hour. And around the area, we see 66 Athens, 68 Ripley, 60 in New Martinsville, 57 in Cambridge.
This morning, he will seek the Democrat presidential bid, making him the 17th person to run for the Democratic nomination. Ryan wrote on his campaign website that he's running to stop the American dream from fading away and to reunite a divided population. Ryan has served in Congress since 2003 and announced last year that he was considering a presidential run. 8 people were taken into custody following a shooting in Zanesville. According to the Zanesville Times Recorder, the investigation began with a man being treated for a non-life-threatening gunshot wound in the emergency room at Genesis Hospital. City and special response teams took 8 people into custody from various locations in relation to the shooting. A death row inmate has died, according to Ohio prison officials. Authorities say 44-year-old Jason Dean died of apparent natural causes at the state's medical treatment facility. Dean took place in a 4-day shooting spree, ending in 23-year-old youth counselor Titus Arnold's death in Springfield in 2005. No execution date has been set for Dean. The person found wandering around a Kentucky neighborhood yesterday is not Timothy Pitson, who's been missing since 2011. The FBI says that's according to DNA results. Timothy was 6 years old when he was reported missing in May 2011. He lived in Aurora, Illinois. Then yesterday, a male who was at first described as a teen boy told police he was escaped from the two men who were holding him captive and said he was named Timothy James Pitson. He told police he had been held captive for 7 years and escaped. However, Newport police say the male is actually 23 years old and his name is Brian Michael Rainey of Medina, Ohio. A Cincinnati representative pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge. Democratic Representative Cedric Denson pleaded guilty today to driving while under the influence. His license is suspended for 6 months and he must complete a driver intervention program or face 5 days in jail. Denson still faces a felony drug possession charge. An Adderall pill was found in Denson's car by police. Denson said he isn't prescribed the drug and doesn't use it. President Donald Trump has nominated Frank Volk as a U.S. District Attorney Judge in West Virginia's Southern District. Volk is a Morgantown native and currently is Chief Judge for the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in the Southern District. The nomination now needs confirmed by the U.S. Senate. A study by Verizon says West Virginians watch more television than people in any other state in the country. The report used data from the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics. It found people in West Virginia average about 4.5 hours in front of the television per day. The study also used Google Trends to determine that the state's TV genre of choice is soap operas. Colon cancer screenings for Kentucky Medicaid patients is increasing. The University of Kentucky reports screenings increased 230% since its Medicaid program's expansion under the former President Obama's administration. The Kentucky Medicaid Commission says the study does not show the Affordable Care Act caused those benefits. The study comes at a time of uncertainty for Kentucky's Medicaid program. Governor Matt Bevin has been trying to make changes, but a federal judge has blocked him. The price of food is in the rise in Kentucky. The Kentucky Farm Bureau says its latest market basket survey shows overall food costs rose by almost 2% since the start of this year. The price of pork products rose almost 6% and the price of grains increased almost 5%. The market basket survey is taken 4 times a year at the end of each quarter. Still to come, former Vice President Joe Biden addresses allegations that he made women feel uncomfortable. And memorials are being held all across Memphis to mark the 51st anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
WOUB is member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at woub.org. And thank you.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
PBS had a special on Pearl Harbor, and once Landon started watching the show about the Arizona, he completely became fascinated.
That's Donald Stratton, and that's me.
And then his Christmas wish this year was to meet Donald Stratton, one of the survivors from the Arizona.
So good to see you, buddy.
Everything that Landon has learned from PBS, it's immeasurable.
This is for you.
Thank you, big guy.
He is living proof of the effect that PBS has had on his life.
I loved Ken Burns' series on the Civil War. It was deeply impacting. I love history. To have those stories told through these letters, through stories of love and loss, it rewrote the book on how to tell a story. When television was invented, there were a lot of people who had dreams about what it could do. I think PBS still aspires for and often succeeds at reaching the highest ideals of what television could be.
Former Vice President Joe Biden says he's making changes after being accused of inappropriate touching. He shared a video on Twitter Wednesday as a response, saying he will be more mindful about respecting personal space in the future. 2 women recently said Biden made them feel uncomfortable in their encounters. Biden responded to the accusations by saying he had always viewed politics as a way to make connections and show support and affection. He acknowledged that, quote, social norms have begun to change and said he will adjust to those changes. President Trump is the first president in nearly half a century to refuse to release his tax records. As pressure on him continues to heat up, a battle is brewing that could go all the way to the Supreme Court. CNN's Lauren Fox has the details.
House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal making the first move in what is expected to turn into a major political and legal showdown, formally requesting 6 years of President Trump's personal tax returns and records from 8 of his business entities.
Is that all? That's all. Oh, usually it's 10, so I guess they're giving up.
The president suggesting he won't comply.
We're under audit, despite what people said. Until such time as I'm not under audit, I would not be inclined to do that.
Despite Mr. Trump's long-standing explanation, an audit does not prevent an individual from releasing their tax returns. Richard Nixon did just that in 1973. The Washington Post reports that Mr. Trump has told advisors he plans to fight all the way to the Supreme Court, hoping to stall the issue until after the 2020 election, and that Treasury officials will not comply until they are compelled to do so. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who oversees the IRS, declining to answer when asked about the issue last month.
I'm not aware of there's ever been a request for an elected official's tax return, but we will follow the law and we will protect the president as we would protect any individual taxpayer under their rights.
Under a provision in the federal tax code, Chairman Neal is allowed to request anyone's tax returns as long as they can show it's part of Congress's oversight role or an investigation.
This leaves no wiggle room. It is squarely within the chairman's authority.
Neal alluding to this requirement in his 2-page letter to the IRS, writing, quote, the committee is considering legislative proposals and conducting oversight related to our federal tax laws. The top Republican on the committee, Kevin Brady, criticizing the request in a letter to Mnuchin, warning that, quote, weaponizing our tax code sets a dangerous precedent and weakens Americans' privacy rights. Democrats insisting Neal's request is justified.
He's been very, very careful throughout this process, and he's made it very clear. This is not about politics. This is about policy.
House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal set a deadline of April 10th for the IRS to comply with his request. For now, it's in the Treasury Department's hands, but a legal challenge would move the issue to the Justice Department. Memorials were held across Memphis, Tennessee today to honor the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The civil rights leader, famously known for his moving I Have a Dream speech, was shot at 6:01 p.m. while standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel on April 4th, 1968. The 39-year-old Reverend was rushed to the hospital where he died. The Lorraine Motel has been memorialized and is home to the National Civil Rights Museum. Each year, a moment of silence held there at 6:01 to commemorate Dr. King. MLK's colleagues, Reverend James Lawson and Reverend Jesse Jackson, will participate in events in Memphis, remembering his legacy. Events at the museum today are free and open to the public. House lawmakers voted today to end U.S. support for the Saudi-led war in Yemen. The War Powers Resolution passed 274 to 175. 16 Republicans joined with Democrats and 1 voted president. Yes votes say the U.S. shouldn't be involved in the war without getting congressional approval. Those who support involvement say the U.S. has no boots on the ground and is only offering non-combat help to Saudi Arabia. Trump is expected to veto the resolution.
President Trump has said, appropriately enough, that he wants the United States to get out of endless wars. Well, this war in Yemen has gone on long enough. And if the president wants to keep faith with what he has talked about, I hope very much that he will sign this historic legislation and work with us to make sure that the United States does not continue to be involved in endless and destructive wars.
Meteorologists have big predictions for hurricane season. That story still ahead.
Right now outside, it's beautiful, but rain is on the way. I'll have that and much more for you in my full forecast.
WOUB is member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at WOUB.org. And thank you.
I loved Ken Burns' series on the Civil War. It was deeply impacting. I love history. To have those stories told through these letters, through stories of love and loss, it rewrote the book on how to tell a story. When television was invented, there were a lot of people who had dreams about what it could do. I think PBS still aspires for and often succeeds at reaching the highest ideals of what television could be.
What are you doing?
Possibilities. Your day is filled with them.
Reach up, energy in the fingertips, collapse. TV, play Downton Abbey.
And PBS helps everyone discover theirs. Anytime, anywhere.
Up in the sky, you can see it.
PBS, we're with you for life.
PBS had a special on Pearl Harbor, and once Landon started watching the show about the Arizona, he completely became fascinated.
That's Donald Stratton, and that's me.
And then his Christmas wish this year was to meet Donald Stratton, one of the survivors from the Arizona.
So good to see you, buddy.
Everything that Landon has learned from PBS, it's immeasurable.
This is for you.
Thank you, big guy.
He is living proof of the effect that PBS has had on his life.
Some good news for coastal areas. Researchers at Colorado State University are forecasting a slightly below normal Atlantic hurricane season. They are anticipating 5 hurricanes this year, with 2 that are considered major, meaning Category 3 or higher. Contrast that to last year, where we saw storm activity that was 20% above average with 8 hurricanes. Keep in mind, the new forecast does not predict where the storms might come from or if they will make landfall.
Welcome to the Newswatch weather. Your headlines today: 70s are in the forecast. Also, showers will start to move in, and a thunderstorm is possible in the forecast as well. As we check out right now, or this is overnight, 49 in Athens. We're going to see some showers late. Clouds increasing as we go throughout the night as we start to build in that low pressure that's going to move through. And we're going to have winds coming out of the northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. And we're going to check the temperatures overnight: 49 in Athens, 50 down in Ripley, and your high of 51 down in Ironton. And we're going to see cloudy skies and rain throughout most of the area. As we're going to check out your hour by hour in the overnight hours, we're going to start off at 8 p.m., 63, cloudy, 10%, 12 a.m., 56 out there, and by 4 a.m., it's going to be 51 with a 60% chance of rain. We look at the precipcast out there. Tonight, see that low pressure starting to move through. It's going to move its way to the northeast, and then we'll start to see some rainfall around 2 a.m., and we will start to see the rain continue on into the bus stop forecast at 8 a.m. 50 degrees out there. It's going to be humid with some showers, so you're going to want to get the umbrellas out as it will be raining out there. Should be light showers at the most. And then we see the morning planner starting at 6 a.m., 49, 70% chance of showers, and by 9 a.m. we get up to 51 with a 60% chance of showers. And then by noon, we're going to see those chances start to dissipate, but the temperatures reach up to 55 out there. And then we check out tomorrow, 61. We're going to have some gusty winds up to 25 miles per hour. AM showers are going to start to move out by the PM hours with a wind south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. As we check out tomorrow highs, 60 down in Athens, Marietta 60 as well. We're going to see 60 throughout the region. It's going to be a little bit cooler tomorrow than it is today, as we do not see some sunshine tomorrow. And then we see that precipcast. The low pressure tomorrow afternoon is going to continue to move through. As we see this high starting to build in, we're going to see that high bring some sunshine this weekend. And we see Friday, tomorrow we're going to be 60, and then by Saturday it's going to be partly cloudy skies as we see that high pressure start to move through the area. Then by Sunday we're going to see a chance of thunderstorms. It's going to get up all the way to 76, and we're going to start the week off 72 the high with a chance of showers, and that should start to move out, and then we're going to see some sunshine and partly cloudy skies for the rest. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Cameron. Vaccinations have been in the news lately. It's likely that you or someone you know hates going to the doctor. It's even more likely that's the reason you have a fear of shots. Mary Maloney explains.
Do you get anxious, nervous, nearly pass out, even faint when confronted with getting a shot at the doctor's office? Then you may have needle phobia. A study reported by the U.S. National Library of Medicine says up to 50% of children exhibit needle fear.
That phobia comes from a very specific experience when they were 4 to 6 years old, and for most people, it's when all of the booster shots were clustered on the same day. You've got a 3-year period for the booster vaccines, and so in compliance with the CDC guidelines, you could stagger them out, you can space them.
Dr. Amy Baxter of Pain Care Labs in Atlanta says a fear of needles and injections is often the reason adults decline vaccines and even avoid getting medical care altogether.
We did research and found that the kids who had 4 or 5 injections on the same day, only in these booster areas, they were the ones who had high needle phobia 5 years later, and they were the ones who decided not to start their HPV vaccine.
And it turns out that only 3 to 5% of people are born with a physical reaction to needles. Needle phobia may decrease with age, but Dr. Baxter says the best way to get over it is by conditioning yourself with positive experiences at the doctor's office. For today's Health Minute, I'm Mary Maloney.
Good evening, News Watchers. Let's talk sports, shall we? 2 Ohio women were honored by the MAC this week. Stay tuned to find out what they earned. And Ohio baseball is on the road for the first time in 3 weeks. Find out where it's headed and what's at stake when Newswatch returns.
A box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
What are you doing?
Possibilities. Your day is filled with them.
Reach up, energy in the fingertips, collapse. TV, play Downton Abbey.
And PBS helps everyone discover theirs. Anytime, anywhere.
Up in the sky, you can see it.
PBS, we're with you for life.
PBS had a special on Pearl Harbor, and once Landon started watching the show about the Arizona, he completely became fascinated.
That's Donald Stratton, and that's me.
And then his Christmas wish this year was to meet Donald Stratton, one of the survivors from the Arizona.
So good to see you, buddy.
Everything that Landon has learned from PBS, it's immeasurable.
This is for you.
Thank you, big guy.
He is living proof of the effect that PBS has had on his life.
WOUB is member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at WOUB.org. And thank you.
Welcome back, News Watchers. I'm Blake Baker. You heard Cameron say it, the weather's warming up, but Ohio softball has been hot for weeks. The Bobcats are the MAC's best hitting team and look to stay on top in Mount Pleasant this weekend. Their 3-game series against Central Michigan starts tomorrow at 3 p.m. Ohio last lost to the Chippewas 4 years ago, and with the top 2 sluggers in the league, there's no reason to think that streak ends. Katie Yun and Morgan Gino are hammering softballs to the tune of 99 hits, 26 homers, and 79 RBI between them. Hope the Chippewa pitchers know what they're in for. If you don't believe me about Morgan Gino, hear this. The MAC awarded the senior her 3rd Conference Player of the Week this season. Last week, she blasted 4 homers and knocked in 8 runs. But Gino only needed 2 to become Ohio's all-time RBI leader. Talk about a week. Gino has started every game this season and leads the MAC in home runs. Her counterpart, Katie Yun, is second. She's also committed just 1 error in the field this season. In short, Gino's having the best season of her Bobcat career and is getting rewarded for it. And chalk up another one for Ohio sports, and Ohio women's sports at that. Today, the MAC honored the Bobcats' Nicole Smiley as the Women's Golfer of the Week. The senior had a career couple days to earn it, too. At the Lady Colonel Classic, Smiley shot the best 54-hole total of her career and tied for second, the highest finish in her career. After 1 day at the Classic, she was 3 strokes under and followed it up with another good round to finish with an even score. Smiley leads the Bobcats into the Dolores Black Falcon Invitational this weekend. Okay, back to the diamond. Bobcat baseball is batting the best it has all season, and the Bobcats have their first win streak of the season. They'll put it on the line starting in DeKalb tomorrow. Ohio capped off 12 straight home games with 3 12-run offensive explosions, so they're on fire as they hit the road to face Northern Illinois. The Huskies have lost 5 straight, but they do have the same conference record as the Cats. Ohio is looking for the 2nd season in a row with a series win over the Huskies. Their 3-game series starts tomorrow at 4 p.m. The 2 Ohio teams who are paid to play baseball were also in action yesterday. We'll start with the Reds, who are trying to avoid a 4th straight loss. Now, the Milwaukee Brewers are one of baseball's best, and Manny Pena gets the best of this Luis Castillo pitch. That low base knock up the middle plates the first run of the game and with ease. And to protect the lead, the Brewers have faith in Freddie. That's Freddie Peralta, and he was feeling it. That strikeout was his 7th of the game. This one, his 11th. The 22-year-old went 8 scoreless innings, and he's fired up, and rightfully so. The Reds did have a chance to do damage in the bottom of the 9th with runners on the corners, but no dice. Brewers win 1-0. The Reds have lost 4 straight. Now, the Cleveland Indians were also facing a division rival. Here's Chicago's Jose Abreu taking advantage of an already struggling Corey Kluber, putting his team up by 3 runs in the 2nd inning. And just a couple innings later, Abreu, abusive. This shot over the right fielder is going to skip off the wall once and is going to score 2. Now, the White Sox have 6 runs. Jose Abreu has plated 3. And to make matters worse, Yoan Moncada. Hasta la vista. That one's out in a hurry. The Indians, they would score 2 more, but to no avail. The damage had already been done. They go on to lose 8-3. Now that's all I got for sports. We'll throw you to the green screen with Cameron.
And we're going to see weekend outlook. By Friday p.m., we're going to see 60 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. There's a 30% chance of rain in the afternoon. And by the morning, Saturday, 60 degrees, partly cloudy skies. And then by the afternoon, we're going to get down up into the 70s with partly cloudy skies. Over to you, Caitlin.
All right, thank you. Well, that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Caitlin Coolidge. And remember, you can tune in at any time to find the latest news or visit woub.org. Thanks for tuning in.